Welcome back to the second ever episode of the Wolf Pod. I'm Michael Joseph, and I'm joined here by Jared McCullen, Derek Camp, and Isaac Hungerford. So some topics we're going to be talking about today is the NBA awards, some more NBA free agency, what Houston should do to fix their problems, some college football Heisman picks, conference winners, etc., and the NFL early Super Bowl pick. So our first topic is going to be the NBA awards. So Isaac wants to start with that, and we're going to start with Defensive Player of the Year, who was Rudy Gobert.
So with Gobert for Defensive Player of the Year, I'm not really in tune as much with that one, but I feel like it shouldn't go to a big man necessarily because, I don't know, you're more of a rim protector, and the Jazz weren't like the top team in the West. I mean, they were good, but like they were, fourth seed? Like, obviously Kawhi had a good playoffs, and it's a regular season award. But I feel like someone like that who guards the wings, which are the better, like, top-tier players in the league, should get the award over someone who just guarded the big men who's kind of went away and kind of diminished.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you think about a Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert can't guard anyone that's not a center. If you put any 1, 2, or 3 on Gobert, it's a mismatch for the offensive player. Like Gobert, I don't think he should be the Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, he's a great player, but who are the other candidates? I'm assuming Paul George, and was it Kawhi?
Paul George and Giannis.
Giannis. When you think about someone like Giannis, I don't know what his stats were, and I know that people voting probably had the fact that Giannis was a favorite for the MVP in mind already, but Giannis could legitimately guard probably anyone on the floor at any time. He might struggle with someone small, maybe, but Giannis is, I don't know. And even Paul George could probably defend mostly everyone. He'd probably struggle with a 5, but I don't know. I don't like Rudy Gobert for Defensive Player of the Year.
I personally think it should have been Giannis or Paul George. I mean, I think Rudy Gobert, like you said, can only guard one position. It'd be like giving Patrick Beverley, giving him Defensive Player of the Year at his height. He can't guard everybody in the league, so it just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I totally agree with all those. So the next award was Sixth Man of the Year, who was Lou Williams.
Lou Williams? Yeah, I'll get it. Lou Williams, I don't know, he can score a lot, so yeah, he should get the award, but I feel like it's kind of a hard award to predict because the lineups are so fluid in the NBA. I don't really know who else would get it. Who's the other option, like Harrell on his team?
It was Montrezl Harrell and I can't remember who the other guy was.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even care that much about this award. So it's kind of, you need bench scoring in the NBA, but it's kind of like a meaningless award because it's like, if you have a really good bench player who's putting up stats, he's taking the minutes of the starters, so are your starters worse? So, I feel like it kind of contradicts, do you want to have a really good, you want to have good bench players, but, do you want someone who's better than your starters?
It would mean more if he was on a really good team, if he were, like Manu Ginobili when he was, coming off the bench for all those years. It meant a little bit more just because they were so good, they were competing for titles. Doesn't mean as much when you're just on a not very good team.
Yeah, I agree. The Clippers were decent this year. What were they, the 7 to 8 seed? Yeah. So
7.
It was more. I was more watching the Clippers game to watch Patrick Beverley and KD go at it more than the Clippers and Warriors. So I don't think that award really means a ton. So the next award was Rookie of the Year, which was Luka Doncic. So, in my opinion, I don't know. I like Trae Young just because he's more of what the league is turning into, kind of like just run down the court, crossing people up and launch it.
Wait, how is Doncic not what the league's turning into, though?
Well, I think Trae Young is. Steph Curry is he's the next big guy that people have been talking about. People are modeling their game after him. Kids nowadays are going up just launching threes because of guys like Steph Curry, and Trae Young is like that.
But Doncic has everything you would ask for in a modern day NBA player. He has a sweet handle. He can play the 1 or 2 and 3. He can defend a little bit. Obviously, needs to work on that. He can shoot it from anywhere. So he had the ball in his hands, and I don't know. I think he is what the league's turned into.
They both have extremely bright futures, obviously, but Luka probably had a better overall season. Trae Young really, I mean, if it would have been the second half of the season, if Trae Young plays like he did then, he has that running away easy. So.
Yeah, Doncic's start, I feel like, was too hard to overcome because he was borderline like MVP for the first couple months of the year, like in the conversation. So obviously it's a year-long award, but Doncic's start was too hard to overcome, in my opinion.
So the next award is the MVP, which was Giannis Antetokounmpo. In my opinion, I think James Harden got robbed. Giannis is an incredible player, but I mean, James Harden.
Whoa!
Yeah, you're wrong on that, Mike.
Dude, okay, think about
James
this.
Harden.
Whoa. All right, listen to me now. The MVP, you have to break down what it means. The most valuable player. In my opinion, this award, we have to look at it this way. You have to look at it, if you take the player off of the team, like what would the overall impact be? What would the overall impact be? If you take Giannis off of the Bucks, what are they? If you take Harden off of the Rockets, clearly both teams will not be as good. But if Giannis was never on the Bucks, imagine what they would still be. They would still be an average at best team in the East.
I think
the Rockets still have Chris Paul.
The Rockets would not be remotely close as good. Harden had 32 games of 30 straight points. That's insane.
Yeah, but look at his usage rate. Like, he obviously had the best offensive season since Jordan, but he's a ball hog. Like, if we want to go stats-based, why doesn't LeBron get it every year? Like, you have to value winning, too. The Giannis won 60-plus games. How the Rockets?
Yeah, Giannis was the best player on the best team in the league, and he was clearly in stat-wise, he's the best player on that team.
I really struggle with the stats thing, and it bothers me because, in my opinion, why should Russell Westbrook have won the MVP for averaging the triple-double? Why didn't he win the MVP the next 2 seasons? Because if you take away – so think about it. Wait, he got 3 years in a row with a triple-double, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. So if you take away each – okay, so say this. Say the year he won the MVP, you take that season away, and the next year he wins an MVP, I promise you he wins the MVP that year. And if you take those first 2 years away and he averages an MVP that third year, I promise you he wins the MVP there. But because he's done it, everyone just grows like numb to the fact that players are starting to do this consistently. So for some reason it takes away the greatness. Like LeBron arguably should have won MVP almost every single year that he's played in this league. Every single team he takes to the finals, or he did until this year, obviously. But when you're talking about the most valuable player this year was Giannis. I don't think it's that arguable. James Harden is second. Who's the third?
It was Paul George.
Well, if you're going to go by wins, if you guys are going to go by your factor in wins, how come Russell Westbrook won a couple years ago when his team was not very good? It was just him.
No,
I'm not saying that's the problem.
No,
I'm not saying I agree with it.
If you're going off of considering the fact that the NBA awards don't happen until after the playoffs, if you're going off of the thing, you take one player off the team, how bad does that team go? I'd give the MVP to Kawhi Leonard. I mean, dude went out there, won a title. Obviously, the Warriors weren't, what the Warriors are, but you take him off the team, the Raptors are terrible. Kyle Lowry's their second best player. He's not good. So.
Well, yeah, if it's a playoff award, then obviously everyone would give it to Kawhi because Giannis shit the bed in the conference finals, but I mean, it's a regular season award, so that's kind of where I put it off.
I mean, I don't think the Raptors would be terrible. I think the supporting cast is what made the Raptors good. Kawhi obviously was the stud, but
Chris Middleton is
Siakam, Gasol, Lowry, Danny Green. Those are all like Marc Gasol, Green, Lowry are all veterans. They've been in the league for a long time. They have like a ton of experience. Obviously, no experience in a finals game, but still, with that supporting cast, I still think if you take Kawhi off, they'd be all right. Obviously, they wouldn't win the finals. Obviously, they would not. I'm not saying they would, but it's not like you guys said. It's not a playoff award, so I guess that really doesn't have anything to do with it. But I don't know. I just would have a really hard time thinking that the Bucks would be anything, literally anything, without Giannis.
Right.
So our next topic is more free agency. So last time we hit Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, and Kemba Walker. And today we're going to be hitting D'Angelo Russell, Jimmy Butler, Boogie Cousins, Al Horford, and Klay Thompson. So to start it off, we're going to start with D'Angelo Russell. I think Boston would be a good fit. I've seen a bunch of stuff. I've seen a bunch of stuff on Boston, and I think him going there. I've seen stuff about Kemba going there, but I think that he played with a young core, and he is young, but he played with a pretty young core in Brooklyn, and he was pretty successful with it. So I think if you put him on the same team as more young stars, I think he could really be productive.
I think he would match them well as far as their timetable, but I see his best fit being in Phoenix personally, playing with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. You give them, maybe they aren't the team that they are right. Maybe they're not competing for titles next year, but 3-4 years from now they're going to be pretty good. Devin Booker's a heck of a player, and DeAndre Ayton is just starting to hit strides now. So that's where I see him, fitting in best.
I have him. I think he should go to Minnesota, and it might not be the best basketball fit, but Minnesota's going to throw him the most money, so I feel like Russell should cash in when he can. Because if you have, it's not a big three, but still Russell, and you're probably getting rid of Wiggins though, but so it won't be a big three. But Russell and Towns, like Minnesota, like the fan base and owner, they're kind of getting unhappy they haven't had the results they've wanted. And I don't think Russell's like, he's not an elite point guard, and I don't think he's going to be. So if you put him on like a Boston or Phoenix, he's not going to carry you to what you want. So I think you just cash it on the money.
I was going to say that the Timberwolves as well, but I disagree with you, Isaac, on the fact that I do think D'Angelo Russell is going to eventually be a very good player in the league. You see all the videos come out about him like working really hard in the off season and stuff like that, and that's when all stars are made.
Okay, but like you see videos of Andre Drummond chucking up threes in the off season. He's gonna light it up. Yeah,
Carmelo, you see a shit ton of stuff on. I mean,
Hoodie Mello, like playing scrimmaging against all these other guys. Like, no, I honestly think D'Angelo Russell is going to be a great player in the league. I may be biased because he went to Ohio State, but I do think he's going to be a really good player. Think about what he's done. Look at I don't know what his increase in points per game was, but I guarantee there's a pretty significant significant difference from year one to now, and I think it's only getting better. Like, he's a much more complete player now than he was when he started. He's still going up. Like, I think the dude's going to be a stud, but I do think he goes to the Timberwolves because if you put him,
hold on, we got to pause real quick. Mike, what's that thing called? Mike, what's that app called?
Did you just end it?
Okay, never mind. Keep going, Derek.
Okay.
Someone called me and it paused. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, everyone turn your ringer off.
But if you put D'Angelo Russell with Karl-Anthony Towns, and you still have someone like Wiggins, I know Wiggins is extremely underperformed for where he was drafted, but I feel like if you bring in D'Angelo and you take some of the pressure off of his shoulders, he might flourish under that type of role that he would have. He wouldn't be considered he wouldn't have the pressure of being a star player anymore. He'd be considered like a 3, and I think that he'd be much better under that role. So having him there, plus they have veterans like Derrick Rose. I mean, the only thing I can see holding that team back from being great is injuries, and with someone like Derrick Rose on your team, I feel like injuries could be just bad luck at that point. But I really like D'Lo to the Timberwolves. I think that would be sweet.
Yeah, that would be. It'd be fun to watch.
So our next guy is Jimmy Butler. So I have him. I think he stays in Philadelphia. I think I've been told, or I've read that multiple things that he's like looking to go.
Mike's got close sources to the NBA.
I've read that he's in trade. Like there's talks about sign and trade for him to go to Houston. I don't think that'd be a good fit. He likes himself a little bit, and I think just he wouldn't be able to. It'd be tough for him to play with Chris Paul and James Harden because there's already been multiple things about them coming out and fighting. So
well, yeah, I don't know. I think you stick with the 76ers and hope that Simmons and Embiid develop a little bit more of a game that they can shoot a little bit, and I think Jimmy's obviously loved there, and they had something going pretty well out there, and it's probably going to be easier to win in the East, because considering if KD and Clay both return to Golden State, obviously they're not going to be championship favorites next year, but 2 years from now they're just going to be this the same old Warriors. So I think you try to stay in the East as much as possible.
I'll keep it up with the 76ers bandwagon because he may be the third most talented player on the team, but there's nights where Butler's getting the last shot because Embiid and Simmons are deferring because they can't shoot. So, and they were one shot away from beating the NBA champions in a Game 7 if Kawhi doesn't hit that shot. So I feel like you kind of keep the band together and try to keep it rolling.
I'm a big Embiid fan. I love his game, but I don't think I would stay if I'm Jimmy Butler because, obviously Simmons and Embiid are great players. They're all-stars, so you'd want to stay with a team like that, especially in the East. But I think that the 76ers are going to hear the noise that Embiid and Simmons can't play together. So I think one of those guys is going to be gone within the next couple of years. And I don't know if they're going to be in a position where they're trying to win now. So, in my opinion, if I'm Jimmy Butler, I'm trying to get my ass to LA with the Lakers. But who knows? There's a lot of rumors with a lot of different guys going to LA. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. But if I'm Jimmy Butler, I'm going to LA to play with LeBron.
Yeah.
The next guy I got in the list is DeMarcus Cousins, so Boogie. This is kind of odd, but I would like to see him in New York. They have a ton of cap space, and I just think with a young group, they can afford to pay him a decent amount of money. And they don't really have a dominant big. DeAndre Jordan's still on the team, correct?
Yeah.
He's gone.
He is gone?
He was a free agent.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's staying there, so I think Boogie there would kind of be a good fit. And he's like I said about Iggy Brazdeikis in the last episode. He's kind of a dog. Like he doesn't really care. That's kind of what New York needs.
Iggy would be if he would have came back to Michigan, he would have been probably for sure first rounder next year, and depending on the numbers he would have put up, maybe a late lottery pick. So you got him and RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett would have been the number one pick. If you're allowed to come out of high school, most people might have taken him top 5 overall for sure last year. But I just see Boogie going wherever a big market fails to get someone, because I don't see anyone really wanting him. I don't see Golden State wanting him unless he can come back on whatever that contract was he had, $5 million for 1 year or whatever. But I just don't see him fitting. He doesn't fit real well in today's NBA, so it'd be hard to win with him there.
I 100% agree with you, Mike. I think he should go to New York. Simply on the fact that I think Boogie's pretty much broken, like his Achilles injury, and then the more stuff that's happening, I don't feel like he's ever going to be the same guy. So if the Knicks are going to give him a shit ton of money, then go to New York and cash in on it, because I don't see anyone else giving him that type of money.
Yeah, I disagree. If I'm Boogie, he started at the end of the finals the last couple of days when he had to step up a little bit, I think he started to play better. I do think he still was injured playing in the finals. So I don't think we've seen completely healthy Boogie in 2 years. But if I'm Boogie, I stay with the Warriors and I get completely healthy. And obviously it's going to be a down year for the Warriors because Klay and Kevin Durant are struggling with injuries, and Kevin Durant might not even come back. But if I stay and I prove myself to be the dominant big that I once was, then maybe you go out the year after and then get paid and go somewhere else. But I think you got to prove yourself. I think it's prove yourself time for DeMarcus Cousins because, honestly, you guys are right when you say, like, he could never be the same player again. But what I'm saying is if he is and he stays healthy, maybe he could return to that form and then eventually get paid. But I don't know. And
I think if
I agree. No other team really wants him right now. He's not a super high asset for any team.
I mean, I like what you said. If he goes to Golden State, and I think we're going to see as close as we can to, the MVP Steph Curry, where he's just throwing up shots and, scoring a lot of points. I think you put him with a healthy DeMarcus Cousins, maybe, if he ends up going back to close to what he used to be, you might be able to have a pretty good season, maybe make a run in the postseason and, see what happens there. It'll help him make some money.
Yeah, so our next guy is Al Horford. I have him. This is only if Klay and Boogie both do not come back to the Warriors next year. I got him going to the Warriors. I think that he's a scrappy guy, in my opinion, he's a much better version of Zaza Pachulia on that team. Like, when he can shoot.
Zaza is terrible.
I know, but he's that guy they kind of just threw into tone to just get boards. And, you don't have to be a big scorer for us. You just go in there and get some rebounds for us and play some good defense. And I think he can go in there and get some boards, play some really good defense, but he can also score if you need him to.
I think Isaac kind of agrees with me going towards this point, but I see him going to either Atlanta or New Orleans. With two young cores, guys that don't quite have experience in the NBA, and if they do have experience in the NBA, it's not winning basketball. So I think you put a kid like him or a guy like him on your team with a bunch of kids. Really, not only is it going to help right now, but it's going to help in the future because he's a proven vet, and he, I think he kind of does the right things. You don't hear much about him being like a bad teammate or stuff like that. So I see him going either back to Atlanta or going to New Orleans.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jared. I personally rather have him on New Orleans than Atlanta because I feel like New Orleans' timeline is a lot quicker. You have Lonzo, Ingram, Zion. Who else on the team?
Josh Hart, Drew Holiday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jackson Hayes. So I feel like if you put Horford as their center next year, they could borderline make the playoffs and probably make some noise, and he'd be a great mentor for that Jackson Hayes because he's probably going to have to be their fourth or fifth piece. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to develop a lot for them to actually win something. And I, as you heard in the last episode, I'm a big believer in Zion, so I feel like the future would be really, really bright for the Falcons.
And when Horford was in Atlanta before, they made that they were I can't remember what year it was. It might have been 2014, but they were the number one seed in the East. They obviously weren't, made to beat the LeBron Heat, but they won. Or was it the Cavs? They made a heck of a season, and they had a bunch of all-stars on their team. So Horford knows how to, play in a team that has multiple people scoring in double digits, an even led team.
Yeah, so, our next guy is Klay Thompson. I go back and forth in this one. I think just because of his injury, I think he's going to end up staying. But someplace I would like to see him go is the Clippers. I think he could be the number one guy there. They have a ton of money to offer him. And so I think he could sign a max deal with the Clippers, and they can maybe even bring in someone else. So they'll have Pat Beverly, Klay Thompson, Lou Williams, So just kind of a good core.
Yeah, I'd like to see him just stay put. Sit out. I don't really want to see him rush back next year. Just sit out a year, come back and be in Golden State 2 years from now, and make another run for a couple more titles maybe, and see if they can continue that dynasty.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Stay in Golden State, take the money, and win a couple more chips. Pretty easy.
Yeah, I agree too. I think we're all assuming that Durant's gone, and so he'll get that max, and then he'll stay. I don't think you mess up what you have with Steph. Whatever they have, obviously, is the Splash Brothers is working very well, and I think he'd be dumb to. Well, he'd be especially dumb to leave if Durant left, but yeah, I think he stays.
So our next topic is, how do you fix Houston, the Houston Rockets? There's been some fighting in the locker room, so we're just gonna go around and say, how do we think, who can we add, who can we get rid of? Do we stay put? How the roster should change for the Houston Rockets?
Before Anthony Davis was sent to the Lakers, I would have said you try to fix the Rockets by sending Chris Paul to the Lakers. But now they have Anthony Davis. They don't have any cap space. Chris Paul's on a terrible contract for what he is now. So it's basically going to be who's gonna take that contract. That's where I think the problem is. Chris Paul is rumored to be a terrible teammate. He's been rumored, that for a while, which is kind of why the Good Neighbor State Farm commercials are pretty funny. But I think you just try and move him and build something around Harden, because obviously Harden's a beast, and the dude puts up numbers. So
if the injuries to Clay and Durant didn't happen, my initial thought would be to just blow it off completely up. Get rid of Harden, get rid of Paul, Capella, all of them. Just try to get as many draft picks as possible, because you're not getting the Warriors. I'm dead serious. But I feel like their window is now there, so you go and get Jimmy Butler if you can. And if I think you're going to Capella and Tucker, then go do it. So you're going with Paul, Butler, and Harden, because the West is so unknown. The Nuggets, I don't know. They don't have Jokic is good, but he's not like an elite guy that's going to carry you to a title. And then Utah's not going to win it. Golden State, with all their injuries, they could still win it if everyone gets healthy at the end.
I disagree with the Nuggets.
So unknown,
Okay, I agree with you on getting rid of everyone except for Harden, because think about it. There's 4 or 5 players in the league that are instant win guys. The guys you put on your team, and you're instantly a decent team. You're not going to be a contender, but they make your team better instantly. So,
but if you don't get rid of Harden and you have all those young guys, you're still not going to win. So you're wasting Harden's prime when you could get, everything for him if you trade him to a couple other teams, or one team, and then get a 3-way trade or something.
There's no guarantee you get a player like Harden back. There's no guarantee you get a young guy that's going to be like.
You can't give up. You can't give up the franchise.
You're not winning a title with Harden and a bunch of scraps.
No, you can't give up. You can't give up Harden. That just doesn't. You're not going to make any money in Houston if you give up Harden and you're losing a bunch of games tanking.
But you don't rebuild with a megastar. Why would he even want to be there?
You don't get rid of Harden.
You don't need to rebuild. You can just get rid of a couple guys and add more role players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You either continue to go after it and go get a Jimmy Butler, or you get rid of everything.
Well,
I think pick and choose and keep Harden.
Personally, I think if Kawhi leaves and goes to the Clippers, you maybe explore a Kyle Lowry. See if you could give Chris Paul to the Raptors. The Raptors are probably, if they lose Kawhi, they're going to want to go into rebuild mode. So I think you try and ship him to Toronto, and maybe get a younger guy and just try and build something around Harden.
Yeah. So our next topic, this is going to be the first thing. This is going to be the first time we've talked about football in our podcast. So our first thing, we're going to talk about the college football. We're going to pick who our early Heisman winners are. So, Derek, you want to start that?
Justin Fields.
Oh my god.
No, I know I'm biased, but if he actually is anything close to what he was coming out of high school, he's going to be in the Heisman race.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No one believed me when I said anything about Haskins last year and how good he was. So, but like in this Ryan Day offense, like the Ohio State's offense has always been built for a quarterback like Justin Fields. And there's finally a guy who can do, he's an elite thrower. I don't know about a thrower yet. I haven't really seen him in a game scenario, but an elite thrower and runner. I just think that there's no way that he's not going to be a great player, especially at Ohio State. But that's just my opinion. It's probably biased, but whatever.
I
think anyone that picks anyone but Trevor Lawrence is out of their mind.
Correct.
Anyone that saw him in the playoffs last year just tear apart Alabama's defense, which was ranked in the top 3 defenses in the country. I mean, that was insane. He tore apart them like it was nothing. And so, yeah, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks to come out of college football in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
so I think he's got it unlocked.
I think it's him versus Tua or Fields, but I think largely the entire season we're just going to be watching Clemson and Alabama, and judging from a distance how that game's going to go if that matchup happens, just because I think those are clearly the 2 best quarterbacks. Justin Fields hasn't played, so it's kind of hard to say, what he will do. But I would have to go with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I agree with Trevor Lawrence, and this is a topic for another day, but like Alabama and Clemson schedules are awful. So they're going to win by 40 to 50 every game. They're going to have all the stats to back it up, plus their pedigree from the national championship. So I think Lawrence pretty much runs away with it.
Yeah, in the Big Ten, Fields will struggle to put up the numbers that those 2 guys put up because it's not that the talent is better. It's just the weather and the way that football is played.
I just think if JT Barrett can find himself in the Heisman race at some points in his career, then I think Justin Fields is going to do just fine.
Well, Justin Fields he's got a chip on his ass kicked week 12, so
week 12, yeah, that's worked the last 7 years.
Hey, Michigan's going to win it all. Watch it.
Shut up.
Okay.
So now we're gonna do
conference winners for the Power 5. So we're gonna start with Big Ten. I will start off. I don't really care what anyone thinks about this, but I got Michigan State.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Yep, they're gonna win it.
Just brought the respect for our podcast way down.
Bro, Brian Lewerke can't even throw a football.
When he's healthy, he's a solid quarterback, and everyone saw that.
When he's healthy, he played an entire season last year.
Mike, you're an idiot.
Healthy. Anyone that tells me that he was healthy is moronic.
It's football. Everyone gets hurt.
Oh man,
you're an idiot, Mike. I'm sorry.
Derek, do you have Ohio State? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I have Ohio State. It's a year where they're being looked down as they're already being disrespected. They're ranked.
If we're going by disrespect, you guys disrespect Michigan State, so they're going to win now.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State normally does pretty well when they're disrespected. And I mean, when everyone looks at Michigan State and says they're going to be shitty, that's when they have their best seasons. That's when, crap like Blake O'Neal happens, just unlucky things in the other event, but just random lucky things like LJ Scott reaching a ball out that most times would be knocked out.
I'm sorry. Michigan State's struggled heavily since Ohio State and Michigan have both been contenders. They just have. There's no denying it. You can't sit there and tell me they haven't. Like, it's a known fact.
I think Michigan being relevant, I don't think that has an effect on how Michigan State has been the past couple years. I mean, Michigan.
Mike, since Jim Harbaugh stepped foot on Michigan's campus, Michigan State is either 15-16 or 16-15. That's terrible.
Okay,
if you don't win a Rose Bowl the year before, you're fired.
When it comes on Michigan and Michigan State, I mean, what are they, 2-2?
Yeah, but are you judging your program off of one game?
3-1.
Okay, but what's your point? It still happened. They're 2-2.
They're 16-15 or 15-16 since Jim Harbaugh stepped foot on campus. That's terrible.
Michigan State having to play Michigan, they're not looking at that like, oh my gosh, you have to play Michigan, and then worrying about and then dropping other games because of it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone.
So Exactly. So what I'm saying is that Michigan and Ohio State being good does not make Michigan State irrelevant. Michigan's always gotten good recruits out there, taking like these huge recruits from Michigan State, because Michigan State has never
they've never done that.
Huge guys, and the guys that play longer, they'll develop them because they have a great coach.
Where's the Michigan State Ohio State game at this year?
Michigan State, Ohio State?
Yes.
It's in the shoe, I think.
Yeah, it's at the shoe.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. I have to disagree with that. I don't think you're going to beat Michigan at the Big House and beat Ohio State at the shoe. I mean, if they do, I'll shake. If they do, I'll shake their hand and tell them I'm wrong. But I just don't. I don't agree with that. I personally, I think if Michigan's going to do it, I think it's a year like this. You have Notre Dame at home. You have Ohio State at home. You have Michigan State at home. The only game that you are maybe circling as a huge game that's not at home is Penn State and Wisconsin. But both of those teams, Michigan absolutely throttled last year. It was
they're hit or miss every game.
Who?
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Wisconsin and Penn State.
Yeah, those teams are. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Penn State goes now without Trace McSorley. Wisconsin obviously has a great atmosphere at home, so that'll be a tough one. But I think with Urban gone, I think it kind of gives Michigan this perception that, hey, maybe we can beat them. So that's just my choice. I think it's this year.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair. That's fair, because you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as Ohio State's being slept on, or the window is now open for Michigan. And being an Ohio State fan, I'm going to look at it as we're being slept on. There's a lot of things to prove for Ohio State, but I definitely think it's fair to predict Michigan to win the conference. I mean, the head coach, a legendary head coach, has retired, so the window's definitely open for Michigan.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jared. I mean, you guys have pretty much talked about the details, but I feel like the stars have aligned in the schedule, and it's going to work out pretty well for Michigan.
Yeah.
Except for when they play Michigan State.
Okay.
All right, next conference.
No, Mike, let's move on to the next conference. We've talked about this conference for long enough. We're going to have plenty of days to talk about the Big Ten.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
If Michigan State has an average defense this year, how can you not put them as a top 10 team in the country?
Because their offense is terrible.
Oh, sorry, average offense.
Okay. Yeah, you give them an average offense. They're going to be damn good because the defense is really good, and aren't they returning almost everybody?
Your boy Brian Lewerke's behind center. They're not having an average
and
offense.
you can't look at their backup and say
2 years ago Lewerke wasn't a solid quarterback.
he was a solid quarterback, but
exactly.
I'll also tell you that Wilton Spate was a solid quarterback, and then he got his shoulder hurt just like Lewerke did, and Wilton Spate's been absolutely terrible.
Wilton Spate was terrible. Wilton Spate was always terrible.
What are you talking?
Right, because we didn't only have one loss that year.
Oh my
Spate as the
god!
quarterback.
But didn't you guys have one of the best defenses in the country at that point? With
Yeah, and so will Brian Lewerke. It's not hard to score 14 points a game. What'd they score in the bowl game? 3? You can't ask much more of their defense.
All right, so the next conference I put on here is ACC. I think we can all make this fast.
Clemson.
Clemson, don't even talk about it.
Yeah, all right.
We can do,
so,
yeah.
The Big 12 is next. I got Oklahoma winning. I think Jalen Hurts comes in and takes over.
I believe Texas has Oklahoma at home, correct?
It's neutral.
It's a neutral site game every year?
I think so.
Okay. I didn't know if it was every year that they do that or if it's like play 3 years or whatever, but I have Texas this year. I don't know why. I just look at their quarterback and Ellinger, and I think he's pretty good. I think they finished the season pretty well last year, and I don't know. Jalen Hurts obviously was really good, but how many quarterbacks at Alabama have turned out to be these gods in the NFL? It's probably the system. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I don't think Oklahoma will be as good as they were last year.
West Virginia lost Greer and Sills, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
All right, so yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Jared. I think it's gonna be really close, but I have Texas. I haven't been a big Jalen Hurts fan. I feel like he doesn't throw it like you need to, especially in the Big 12 with like Oklahoma's like air raid offense. Like Jalen Hurts doesn't even come close to Baker or Kyler Murray's arm. So I feel like Texas won a close one in the Red River rivalry and come out on top in the Big 12.
Texas plays LSU, I think, week 2. It's
I'm
either.
not talking national title.
I know. I'm just saying
Big 12.
that'll be a good point that we can see and judge Texas off of is how they do against LSU.
All right. I would agree with Texas. However, because I don't think Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's obviously won a championship, and he won that one game against Georgia. But ultimately, he gets benched by Tua, and Tua wins the championship for him. Mm-hmm. All things were Georgia until Tua comes in the game, right? So, in my opinion, I still think Oklahoma is going to win the Big 12, and solely because I think that at some point during the year, Lincoln Riley's going to turn to Spencer Rattler instead of Hurts. I don't think Hurts is going to start the whole year.
Is that a QB battle right now, or
I think the defense is so bad in the the Big 12 that it really Jalen Hurts is going to play well. I mean, he's used to playing SEC teams, which has pretty good defenses. So I just think the Big 12 defenses aren't very good at all, and that he'll be fine until he has to play someone out of conference.
Yeah, but I think Spencer Rattler is going to show up this year at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next one is the Pac-12. I have Washington winning the Pac-12. So Jacob Eason, he was a 5-star recruit out of high school, and he committed to Georgia, but never played. Jake Fromm was in front of him, and then, so he just transferred to Washington. He's going to be pretty sure a redshirt junior. So I'm kind of excited to see how good he is going to be, but I think that Washington's going to win. I don't really see a ton of competition. I mean, Oregon has a really good offense, but I mean their defense is pretty bad. So
Oregon
and Stanford hasn't shown up to do anything in the past 5 years. So
Oregon's offense didn't look all that great against Michigan State's defense. Obviously, their defense is really good.
Defense is great.
Yeah, their defense is great, but if you have a really good offense, you probably should score a little bit more than what they did. But I would have to agree with you. Probably Washington. I see Washington as more of a proven program right now. USC and UCLA, I don't really see relevant quite yet.
I actually have to disagree with you guys. I'm going to go with Oregon. And like you said, State did shut them down. But there's not a defense even close to that in the Pac-12. Across the board, all the defense are below average to terrible. And I think Justin Herbert's going to be the best quarterback in the country.
Trevor Lawrence.
Not best. Okay.
Whoa.
Statistically, not the best talent-wise.
If you think he's the best statistically, you think he's going to be the best statistically?
Trevor Lawrence is better, but he's going to put up. Yes, I think he's going to.
If he puts up better stats, then that should be your Heisman.
They're going to still win 50 to 30 every game.
That should be your Heisman favorite then, if he's going to put up better numbers.
No, Trevor Lawrence is better. I was thinking NFL because Trevor Lawrence can't go for 2 years. I think Herbert's going to be number one pick in the draft.
Yeah.
But that's why I have Oregon because USC is not the old USC, and I don't know. I just have a feeling that Oregon's offense is going to be too much for the conference.
I have Oregon as well. I think Herbert coming back is a huge win for Oregon, and I think they're finally starting to figure out who they are now. Ever since Kelly left, they haven't just really been the Oregon that we grew up watching. That fast pace, go now, no huddle. And I think now they're finally starting to figure out who they are. And with Herbert coming back, I think it's a huge win for Oregon. And I know Washington. I think Washington has a great coach. They obviously played Ohio State really tough in the Rose Bowl last year. And is Browning gone now?
Yeah, Easton's their quarterback, Michael
Oh,
Stark.
Eason. Yeah, so you're right. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay. But yeah, I think the quarterback's a huge question mark, and we'll see how Eason does. But I'm willing to put my money on Oregon and Herbert.
Michael. Oh, my bad. I was on mute. So the last conference is the SEC. I got Alabama winning that. I definitely think that Georgia's going to give them a really tough game, but I think Tua is so good, and Nick Saban's got every single player he needs, obviously. So I think Alabama's going to beat him.
I see Vanderbilt bringing home the. No, I'm just kidding. Alabama first. Georgia obviously gives them their best shot, but Alabama.
Yeah, I got Alabama too. I mean, I really like Georgia, but how many years in a row are we going to talk about Georgia's going to threaten Alabama and they never really get it done? So I feel like you have to go with the consistency of Alabama's program and pretty much pencil them in for the playoff.
Yeah.
With no knowledge of any players on the team, but with a bold prediction, I'm going to go with Auburn because every other year they somehow are good. And I don't really understand it, but I think that somehow they're going to come out and be good. I don't know any players on their team any year, but since Kerryon Johnson left this year, what was their record this year?
I believe they made a bowl. They were in a New Year's Six bowl.
Whatever it is, New Year's Six. Yeah, they had Stidham.
I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now, Derek. When I look at that, they have Oregon week 1 at home. They're at Texas A&M, which will be a good game. At Florida, at LSU, home against Auburn, home against Georgia. So
I mean, they play themselves.
What? Or sorry, home against Alabama. Thanks, buddy. Home against Alabama, not themselves. Yeah, they probably.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
I think. Go on, Derek.
I think Auburn's gonna somehow pull it out. But Mike, were you about to say something about Texas A&M as a sleeper?
I was going to say Florida. I've gotten a lot of good recruits in the past couple of years, and I think they're going to start developing. Obviously, I don't have them winning the SEC. That's not what I'm saying because they're not going to.
Well, they're on the other side. They're on the other side from Alabama, so they could take their.
Yeah, but
are they in the East or West? I mean,
I can see them winning 9 games.
Yeah,
the SEC is interesting. You don't like any year anyone could be good, and LSU, they could be good. They have Joe Burrow coming back. They obviously could be a powerhouse there. Florida, I think Texas A&M is going to make a huge. Don't they have like the toughest schedule though?
Texas
A&M.
A&M.
I remember. I think they have a super tough schedule.
Yeah,
they play like Clemson.
Yes, they
Alabama,
play Clemson.
And yeah, but I think Texas A&M in the next couple of years is going to be one of those names every year because Jimbo Fisher obviously proved a lot at Florida State, and I think he's going to make a huge
Texas A&M
a huge impact at Texas A&M.
Well, Texas A&M actually has a relatively nice schedule considering where the games are at. They play at home against Auburn and Alabama, but they're at Clemson on week 2. Other than that, they're at Georgia and at LSU, so they kind of have a mixed schedule as far as their toughest games being at home and being at away. But
all right, so the very last topic for today is the NFL early Super Bowl pick. So you guys are gonna rip at me. I don't care.
Don't say the fucking Cowboys.
I have 2 good people in the Super Bowl. There are 2 teams. I got the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my god,
bro! How much do you like Texas? Damn.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think the Cowboys are gonna win. I think now that they're gonna have a full year with Amari Cooper, they're gonna have Michael Gallup back from injury. They're gonna have Travis Frederick back, their center from injury. And Dak's starting to look better with Amari Cooper and Gallup on the team. And then you got Zeke, so I think.
What about you haven't heard the reports that Zeke might be gone?
Yeah, funny.
Well,
I'm not kidding. I'm not joking.
I haven't seen that.
They might not sign Zeke again. They might have. They said that Dak and Amari Cooper are higher priorities than Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, did
Was
they
that for
bring
an extension or just for this year though?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know that.
They're not just going to cut him.
They normally sign.
Okay,
they normally sign people with controversy in the offseason. Did they sign anybody that beat their girlfriend this offseason?
Wow.
I mean, I'm being dead serious. They normally do that.
So I just think their offense is what has held them back the last year or two. I think their defense with Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, they're going to be really good this year. They're really young, but I think they're going to be solid.
Interesting take there, Jared.
What?
Dude, guys, shut up. The Texans, I think with Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller's going to be back. DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Lamar Miller, Whitney Merciless. They're just Jonathan Joseph. They're really talented. Both teams are really talented. And
all right, I'm going next. I think I'm going to go with what the people want to see, and I'm going to go with it's a bold prediction because there's a lot of things that could go wrong for both teams. But with what the people want to see, I'm going to go with Rams Chiefs. Everyone remembers what happened when they played that game in the regular season. It was like 50. It was like, what was it?
52
something.
52, 51, or 55 something.
Yeah, something crazy, something just outrageous. So
yeah, but now you got to think that Kareem Hunt's not in the team anymore, and Tyreek Hill.
Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill. Honestly, I don't think he's going to end up being suspended. Even if he is, he'll be. I mean, unless he gets completely gone from the team, I'm assuming he'll be back come playoffs. But think about it; they didn't need Kareem Hunt to get where they were last year, and they were. I 100% promise you that they were a coin flip away from going to the Super Bowl. If they won the coin flip, they were going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Did you see Mahomes in that second half? That was unbelievable. He put the team on his back. They scored 30, whatever the overtime score was, 33. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
He scored 33 points in the second half. He was rolling. And in cold weather against the Patriots, like, I don't know. He didn't have Kareem Hunt. He had that Damian Williams guy. Have you even heard of him before? No, you haven't. Exactly. So I think that the Chiefs are going to – well, Mahomes still has a lot to prove, too, because obviously that rookie year sometimes people have a great rookie year, and then their second year they take a step back. But Andy Reid's a great coach and is a great offensive-minded coach. If they get that defense figured out, they signed the Honey Badger. I think they're going to be. Solid. I'm going to go with Chiefs actually in that game too.
Yeah, Mike. Who would you have winning it?
Who would I have winning?
Cowboys,
Chiefs,
Texans.
Rams.
No,
Cowboys, Texans. I say Cowboys.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
I'm just happy this is recorded because I'm gonna send you this and you guys all laughing at me.
Okay.
Actually, Derek, you'll be in my dorm next year, so I can just rub it in your face then.
Okay. Well, I think there's gonna be a rematch. I see New England versus LA. I see the Patriots taking it home this time. Tom Brady clearly
washed up with no Gronk.
Who? Tom Brady?
Washed up.
You think he's going off the cliff?
Washed up with no Instagram post today.
Washed up with no Gronk.
Okay.
What was his Instagram post?
Doubt him.
I actually do.
It's quoted Max Kellerman said, falling off a cliff with a 60-mile-per-hour football thrown. Which is really good.
Dude, he's...
Yeah, but
Tom
how long
Brady
have we been
close
saying
to
that?
being done, dude.
No, he's not.
Dude, he's the greatest of all time, but it's getting close. Like, he's going to continue to play well, but he's not going to continue to play at a Super Bowl caliber level.
I mean, he doesn't have to play at a Super Bowl level the entire season. He's just got to make the playoffs, and then the Patriots play in a terrible division, so they'll win their division, and then all they have to do is secure a bye in the first
now that
round.
Pittsburgh is falling apart.
Pittsburgh's not in their division. Pittsburgh is in the conference. Like, they're going to win that division with Miami. The Texans
Buffalo.
are in there, and Buffalo.
No, not
Tennessee.
Texans.
Tennessee.
It's, Tennessee.
No, not them either.
Indianapolis.
No.
We're all idiots.
Yeah, whatever.
Jets.
Yeah, Jets. They're going to win that easy. So they just got to secure a bye. You give Brady a week off, and then he just does what he does and takes him back to another Super Bowl. That's what I see.
Who do you have winning that?
Patriots. I think it's the last one.
So,
Wait, Jared. So, do we have to suspect that you have bias towards that? I mean, your dog is named Patriot. Is that?
I was a Peyton Manning fan growing up, so I don't think I'm very biased there.
All right, go Isaac.
So my NFC team, I think they're going to get revenge for the NFC Championship game. The New Orleans Saints are going to the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're going to win it because they're going to lose the AFC team, which a lot of people see the bright future, but they don't think it's going to happen this quick. And it's the Cleveland Browns.
Shut the hell up!
You
My God.
You have Baker Mayfield.
I don't know what's
who's the
worse,
future
that or
best
Michigan State winning the Big Ten.
You have Baker Mayfield as the future best quarterback in the league. You have Odell Beckham, who's arguably the best receiver in the league with Jarvis Landry, who's probably the best number 2 receiver in the league. You got Nick Chubb.
I can name
coming off a
three.
great
I can
rookie
name 3
season.
receivers.
You got Kareem Hunt, who was arguably the best running back in the NFL at a time last year, especially fantasy-wise. And you got a good O-line. You got a great defense coming up, and they're young. A lot of people think it's in the future, but I think right now the Cleveland Browns are winning the Super Bowl.
Think about this, though.
I think
they play in
just make the
Cleveland.
playoffs.
What
I
a
think
piece
they
of
just make
crap.
the playoffs.
You don't
Their
think they what?
offense is top 3 in the league.
I think they barely
Right
make
now.
the playoffs.
You think they
Right
barely
now.
make the playoffs? I think 2 years from now that they're a serious contender, but I just don't see it yet. Baker hasn't won a playoff game yet, so
Baker hasn't started a full season yet.
I mean he started 12 games,
Yeah, what was the record in that time?
still didn't win the Rookie of the Year, so clearly isn't the best rookie in the
Saquon. Well, yeah, but now he's got the best receiver in the league. He's
uh,
got one of the best young tight ends.
he's not the
DeAndre
best.
Hopkins, Antonio Brown, and Julio Brown.
Antonio Brown.
Jones are on the
Antonio
team.
Brown is not better than Odell Beckham Jr.
Yes, he is.
Okay, even so, arguably, Jarvis Landry's a top 20 receiver in the league. You got 2 top 20
Yeah, he's
guys.
got 2
You a
top
young guy in
20s.
Callaway.
He's got 2
Their
top
line-
20.
Are we talking about the Browns?
Yeah,
Yeah.
By the way,
O-line
can't stay
sound.
off the weed.
They got Denzel Ward in the backfield. They just traded Jabril, but their defensive backs are really good. Their D-line's getting really good. They got Sheldon Richardson in free agency. They drafted really well. They used
Baker's
their
not a
cap
winner.
space well. Not a winner. What hasn't he won? What hasn't he
A
won?
national championship.
National championship. So when you put up freaking 55 points
Didn't
or
win it.
whatever it was, or 60.
He didn't win it.
Yeah, because that's the offense.
Yeah, if he
Did
was
he win?
if he was
55 in the national
Isaac
title.
Did he win?
Isaac if he
Semi.
was a winner
Did he win?
if he was a winner he would have strapped
Did
his
he get the
helmet
ball
on.
in second overtime? Did he get the ball first?
Isaac.
Did he get the ball first? They win.
What are you talking
How?
about?
What?
In
I
college
don't know,
in the
man.
college
Brown
overtime
got
that
the
doesn't matter.
score.
Dude, all I'm saying is it's not the offensive fault if you put up astronomical numbers in a national playoff semi and your defense decides to
You
shit
know
the bed
you know why
on
Baker
every
wasn't a
turn.
All I
winner?
know is he didn't put up enough. There's
Yeah.
no way
He didn't put up enough.
He didn't score on every
Do I need
single
to pull up the
possession.
Stats? So we're gonna go check the stats. Continue.
You don't
talking.
need to.
My
say
hey,
too long.
Derek or Isaac, go check the
Keep
stats.
short.
But it comes down to it. If he was a winner, he would have strapped his helmet on, played some cornerback, and made a stop for the defense. But he's not that good.
Back to or was it back to
I mean,
back
he's pretty
playoffs? he
good,
went to?
Jared. Don't say he's not.
He
He's
was a
good.
walk-on.
He's good. He hasn't
Two-time
proven it.
walk-on.
He really hasn't.
Yeah, that's what everyone said in the first year in the league too, when he went runner-up and rookie of the year. Another Browns to winning record when he started.
Wait,
the Browns
wait,
won.
what does
Wait,
what does the runner up
They went 0-0.
Did I hear runner
what
up?
does the runner up
He the year before, and he turned him into a winning
what
record. How
what
many
does the
rookies
runner up
do
in
that?
the what does the runner up in
He didn't
the
play all
rookie of the
16
year
games. How
award
many of the
get?
stats to back it up to the runner-up? Saquon played all 16.
Does he get a trophy?
Saquon's a better player.
Lamar Jackson probably had almost. Did he have better stats than Baker as a rookie?
Are you kidding me right now?
He won a playoff
Isaac,
game.
Lamar Jackson.
Isaac, wait,
Lamar Jackson.
wait, Isaac. Didn't the last game of the year, I think, in the regular season, I think Lamar Jackson beat Baker, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
At Baltimore. Why
Lamar
rookies in the
Jackson
league?
can't hit the broadside of a 40-yard
Did you
wide
watch him
and
against
tall
the Chargers
barn.
in the playoffs?
What'd you say?
Did you watch him against the Chargers in the playoffs?
Watch
I
who?
watched him, but I didn't watch Baker Mayfield.
I watched Lamar Jackson.
Lamar
Win that
Jackson
game.
played like 5 games last year.
Yeah, but
Joe
guess.
Flacco got him half the way there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Dude, they,
With
no,
the
they
best
started
defense in
winning.
the league.
No, they started winning as soon as Lamar was quarterback.
Yeah,
What did
they were
But
terrible when
Lamar didn't have
Flacco
a
was
better record
quarterback.
than Baker. Dude, name another quarterback that could turn an 0-16 franchise around into a 500 team.
Tom Brady.
Aaron Rodgers.
Did they? What were their records?
They
Oh wait,
could.
they didn't play. They didn't play the rookie years. So
Yeah,
you
because they
can't
didn't
use
get
that.
drafted to booty hole teams.
Exactly, and he turned him into a borderline winning franchise.
Oh,
And next year they're gonna win the Super Bowl.
okay.
It's a bold take. We should end
It's a,
here.
yeah,
We
it's a
should
good,
end.
great point.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining in.
Free agency special Sunday.
Yeah, free agency
Thank you for joining
special.
in on the second episode of the Wolf Pod. We apologize for the bad quality, but we're all kind of in different parts.
Yeah,
of the country right now.
This is our first time trying the call podcast. So
we do apologize if it's hard to understand, but thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.